What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're covering some more r/am I the butthole. If you'd like to skip the initial waffle, timestamps are in the description and along the timeline below, but if you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. Now, just a huge thank you to each and every one of you for coming here on the daily, clicking that like and just getting involved with the channel. It just means so much. I can't even express how much it means. It's absolutely crazy, and thank you so much for doing so. And with that being said, let's just crack on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from a throwaway account. Am I the arsehole for telling my son to grow up and accept the consequences of his choice to snitch on his friends? All I know is what my son told me, so I might not have all the details here. My son is in his senior year of high school, but he had to take in-home finals for his calculus class. The teacher said they couldn't work together but could all use their notes. A few of his friends in a group chat decided to work together on the final anyway. My son, without consulting me or his mum, anonymously sent screenshots of the group chat to the teacher. I have no idea what's going to happen to them in terms of discipline, but they were obviously incredibly angry when the teacher told them they were caught. So they're using the group chat to ask who snitched, and that whoever snitched needs to say they did. It was only last night that my son confessed what was going on to me and my wife. He was very upset because someone in the group chat accused him of being the snitched, and he denied it. I asked him why he even snitched in the first place. I absolutely wouldn't have done that, and I would have told him not to do it. And he said that he didn't think that it was fair if people worked together when the teacher said not to, but he didn't think it would be this big of a deal. I told him that he needs to confess to what he's done and be honest with his friends. My son was crying and said they wouldn't want to be friends with him anymore if he came clean. I told him that he was probably right, but he should have seen that coming before he chose to snitch on them. I honestly don't know how he didn't see this whole thing coming, and I told him that. I also told him that he should have told his friends directly that it was not cool to cheat, and that he acted like a coward in anonymously snitching, and that I was disappointed in him. He just cried and went to his room. My wife was very upset with me and said I was making him feel worse and that I acted like a dick. I hate to say this, but I believe my son acted like a dick. I certainly wouldn't want to be his friend if I found that he snitched on me for something this stupid and then lied about not snitching. I don't know if he comes clean or not, but I think I just provided him with some good solid advice, and I don't think I was an arsehole. Now, there's a mixed bag of comments on this one, so I'm going to dive straight into those because I want to read these this time as well. So, Admirable Judgment says, "You're the arsehole. You and your ilk are the reason we have such a corrupt government right now. You have no integrity. Instead of berating your son, you should be proud of what he did and support him by explaining that doing the right thing is not always easy but necessary. You should be talking to administrators at his school about the culture they have inculcated." And Cox BJT says, "Not sure lying to the friends about standing up for the right thing is integrity. He should have told his friends it was wrong and he wasn't going to be a part of it, and that he would feel forced to tell the teacher." And then Admirable Judgment also replies to this saying, "You don't have to warn people who already know they're breaking the rules." LA Kings of Metal says, "This is one of those times where a snap judgment from the title winds up being spot on. You're the arsehole. I hate the term snitch. It allows people like you to remove any accountability for their actions. Let's be clear, those kids won't be in trouble because your son reported them. They'd be in trouble because they were cheating. Your wife was right." And Dramatic Pancake said, "Clearly didn't get his moral compass from you. You're the arsehole." And What a Mess says, "So your son did the right thing and called people out cheating, and you say you're disappointed in him. Your wife must be an amazing parent to have a kid turn out the way your son has, because clearly you haven't done much to give him a sense of morals. You're the arsehole." And then Tomboy Futch says, "Not the arsehole. Look at all these people that would betray their friends. If your son felt so strongly that cheating was wrong, he should have been able to say it to their faces. At the very least, he should have given them fair warning that he would report them if they cheated. I've told people point blank that I will report them for drunk driving, and it stopped them from getting in their car. In that kind of situation though, there is a moral duty to report. Instead he goes behind their backs and now won't come clean. So these people are against cheating but see nothing wrong with lying to avoid the consequences of your actions. Interest in moral principles. Unless someone is being hurt or at risk of being hurt, you should keep your mouth shut, especially when it's your friend. Do these people have no concept of loyalty?" Now, what would you do in this situation, and what do you think about the child? Do you think that they are the arsehole, for reporting their friends? Or do you think, no, he did take the moral high ground here and he should have reported them? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Now our next story comes from Just Call Him Rick. Am I the arsehole for telling my girlfriend it was wrong to call her son Dickie against his wishes? My girl and I have been together for 5 years. She has a son, Richard, middle name, who is 10. I've always called him Little Man or DJ as a nickname. His family calls him Dickie. Richard is a family tradition kind of name for them, and most of the men have it somehow. Her dad goes by Dick, also a Richard. I always cringed when I heard the name because I knew the kid was going to come to hate it when he got older. Well, lo and behold, the shoe is dropped. I'm surprised it took as long as it did. They have a half virtual and half online learning this year, and apparently the other kids have been teasing him. My girlfriend had a phone conference with his teacher because he got into an altercation at school. He's about to go to middle school next year, so it's just going to get worse, I'm sure. My girl says kids need to learn to not bully, and she won't change his name just because kids are mean, and she wants him to learn to stick up for himself. Honestly, I don't see that working out too good, since sticking up for himself already got him detention once. I talked to him, guy to guy, after my girlfriend asked me to, and asked what was up at school. He said kids tease him and make him mad over his name being slang for well. He hadn't even known what the other meaning was till the kids told him. I said he's going to be at a new school for 6th grade, so he can go by anything he wants with a clean slate. I told him Ricky or Rich or Rocky or R or literally anything that could replace Dickie, and he says he wants DJ, just like I call him, and I said okay, let's tell your mum. She wasn't happy. Long story short, I'm in the doghouse now because what I did was encourage that his name is bad and undermine her because she wanted to teach to ignore the bullies. I told her he has the right to use what name he wants, and hell, I don't even go by my legal name either. People can choose their names, even kids. She pulled the "he's not your kid, he's mine," as if she didn't ask for my help, and I haven't helped raise him too. I told her she's being a bully herself by doing something that makes little man upset, but she doesn't see it that way. Edit, I appreciate all the awards, but please stop telling me to listen to Johnny Cash. You know, we've had some nickname stories or name stories in the past, one where someone wanted to give their child the name Cube, and I always say, you know, in an ideal world where there wasn't bullies and people didn't judge each other so harshly, I would say, yeah, you should, you know, be able to name whatever you want, have whatever name you feel like, right? And people did get on my back with like the argument saying, you know, like the girlfriend is doing in this story, like if you don't stand up for your right to have that name, then nothing will ever change. But do you want to force that on your child though? Do you want to send your child out into the world with this slang nickname, you know, and just let them fight for themselves? I don't think I could personally do that. So I gotta say, not the arsehole in this story. And I know some other people, you know, might argue against that, and that's absolutely fine. That is your decision. But me personally, in that person's shoes, there's no way I could ever send like a child of mine out into the world like that. I just couldn't do it. But Curian says, and quotes, she wants him to learn to stick up for himself, and then says, oh, so does she mean like when he asks people to call him by his preferred name, or does he only stand up for himself when it's something about something she wants? And quotes again, I told her she's being a bully herself, and then says, yep, not the arsehole, and she absolutely is. Kids have the excuse of being kids, she doesn't. And a girl named Sue too says, not the arsehole, the kid hates his nickname. Not even his name, his nickname. And then she asks you to go talk to him without instructions to convince him. So you did. You find out he wants to drop his nickname and you're in trouble. What is with people giving nicknames others don't want, man? Not the arsehole at all. That poor kid. She's not the one that gets teased. He is. If I were him, I'd stop answering to Dickie and introduce by my full name or my chosen nickname only. And Holy Fatfish says, not the arsehole, start calling her Twatty and see how she likes it. Cillian Nellis says, not the arsehole, your kid is sticking up for himself by telling his mum that he doesn't want to be called that anymore. Maybe she should start respecting that since she wants him to learn that skill so badly. You're right, she is being a bully, and right now she's being a bad mum. DJ's a great nickname, and if I were your kid, I'd start refusing to respond to being called anything but that or Richard. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What would you do in that situation? OP's in an incredibly sticky situation, you know, that it's not his kid, even though he raised it, and he's having that excuse of like, it's not your kid, it's my kid, so I make the rules kind of thing, thrown at him, and I find that absolutely disgusting. And I think that would make me really, really cross if I was in OP's shoes. But how would you deal with it? Let me know in the comments below. Now, our next story comes from Far Bandicoot. Am I the arsehole for allowing my daughter to have a relationship with her maternal grandparents, breaking the promise I made to my late wife? My wife Jill got pregnant with Emma while still in college, and she and the father decided initially to keep Emma. But when Jill was around 5 months, she came home one day to find him, his parents, her parents, and another couple waiting for her, to tell her that the bio father was backing out and Emma was being adopted out to the other people. Jill and bio father's parents had already fixed everything with a lawyer, and just needed Jill to sign the paperwork. Jill refused, and to make a long story short, Jill's parents resorted to some really despicable methods to force her to adopt out Emma up to a year after her birth, when Jill finally had the money to basically disappear. This led Jill's sister, one of her brothers, and the rest of her family to permanently cut contact with her parents, to give you an idea of how awful it was. I met Jill when Emma was 3, and when we got married I officially adopted Emma. She is my daughter, just as my younger daughter is, who was born 2 years after Jill and I got married. At that point, Jill's parents did a complete 180, tracked us down with a private investigator and begged Jill for her forgiveness. They said they had thought they were acting in the best interest of her future, but had taken a deeply wrong path to do so and would regret their actions to their graves. Jill was having none of it and told them to fuck off and die. Their insistence that Jill forgive them and resume contact escalated to the point where she was granted a restraining order against them. Jill passed over the summer and her parents again reached out to me, begging forgiveness. I blocked all contact until Jill's other brother secretly set up a Zoom call with Emma so they could all meet. I was and am livid about this, but Emma has become obsessed with being close to her grandparents, desperate to meet in person when it's safe. She's 11 now, and previously had only known that we didn't speak to them because they were mean to Jill, as we didn't think Emma was old enough for the full story until she was a teenager. Although frankly, they are in very ill health now and will almost certainly be dead by then. Jill's sister found out that I was allowing contact and is absolutely irate with me. Jill swore that she would never allow contact, saying repeatedly, if anything ever happens to me, don't let them worm their way in with the girls, which at the time I agreed to. I feel terrible going against Jill, but I don't know if at her age, Emma's autonomy should be superseded by her late grandmother's wishes, and I should cut things off until she turns 18. I am refusing any contact with our younger daughter. For the record, Jill's siblings say their parents were fantastic until Jill's pregnancy, and her brother, who is still in contact, says they are phenomenal grandparents to his kids. I'm worried that if they die before Emma is old enough to make an informed decision, she will resent her late mother for keeping her away from them, even after her death. Am I the arsehole? I think OP just really needs to step back and take a look at this, of what they've actually written, to the point like they tried to force, the wife to give up this child and make and sign this child over for adoption, like at birth, to the point where OP had to cut contact with them, and then they harassed her to the point where she had to get a restraining order against them. And now they've snuck behind everyone's back with a Skype call for these secret meets. That's absolutely crazy, and I would be so concerned, and I can see why your wife said that. I think if I was in that position, if I was in your shoes, I would be respecting your wife's wishes. But what I wonder is, does the daughter need to know at this point? How can you convince the daughter this is the right thing to do? Because obviously they think it's just like a little dispute that's gone on in the background here. Does OP just go out and tell the daughter what happened? I wonder. It's a crazy one. It's a bit of a minefield, that is. But Purple MP12 says, you're the arsehole. Tell Emma she can have a relationship with her grandparents when she is an adult, or at least 16. This is not a trivial thing Jill's parents did. They tried to traffic their own grandchild. Then, in order to beg for forgiveness, they didn't take no for an answer until the point Jill had to obtain a restraining order. These aren't safe, stable people. You need to fully explain the severity of her grandparents' actions to her. She's old enough to understand. If you allow any access at all, I'll be really afraid of what they might do or say to her, particularly if you don't supervise every contact. Will they attack her mother? Will they encourage her to come live with them? Will they use the information they gather to try and petition for custody? Someone who tries to force someone to give up their child against their wishes is capable of literally anything. It doesn't matter how repentant they are now, they are not safe. By exposing Emma to them, you're putting her at risk. And the next comment says, you're the arsehole. The fact they're willing to go behind your back and sneak around says a lot about how much they respect you and your late wife. Not even a little bit. What they did to your wife and what they tried to do to your daughter is horrible. How do you know it's safe to let these people around her? And Phantom Flower says, "You're the arsehole. Your wife, may she rest in peace, literally said do not let them contact my daughter. They tried to force her to get rid of a child she wanted to keep. So if you do let her remain and have contact, at least tell her the full story about her grandparents not wanting her." Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you think Opie should do in this situation? How do you think he should handle it? Should he talk to his daughter and tell her the full story? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, our next story comes from Teachy22. Am I the arsehole for giving a student a 0 on their final project because I thought it was racist? Hello, obvious throwaway, and I don't want to jeopardize my job, so I'm not going to use any proper nouns. I'm a 29-year-old theatre teacher at a small college in the US. This class I'm talking about is an advanced scene writing and directing class, meaning everyone in this class isn't taking it just to take it. They all want to do this as a career, and many of them have great skills, I'll admit. The final project for this course was to write up a script for either a play, movie, TV show complete with dialogue, actions and stage directions. It's a semester-long project and it's really the main point of the course. All scenes must be a certain length, as well as depending on if it's a play or a TV show. So this student, I'll call him M, is actually very talented. Multiple times he's brought up how historical fiction is his favourite genre, and he's actually been working on a screenplay that he's used for his project. The story he wrote about is a crime story set during the Prohibition era. Well, it was all and good. Actually worthy of at least an A-, until I got to that scene. There was a scene where the protagonist and his father were walking down the street, and the dad accidentally ran into a couple of young black boys playing quarters in the street. As the father and son walked by, the dad made a comment about how he's glad he's on the way out, because he's not sure how his son's generation are going to deal with all the racist slur words popping up all over. I emailed the student about it and had a Zoom conference with him. He claimed that his work is historical fiction and that is how people talked, and the directions said they could write any story they want. I asked him if he wanted to see what the black students in the class thought of this. He said he doesn't care because he's not going to water down what is meant to be a tough and gritty script so nobody gets their feelings hurt. And people were racist back then. I'm not going to act like everyone was tolerant as they are now. I told him that I would be giving him a 0 without a chance to redo it. He was very upset, and I even received a call from his parents threatening to report me to administration. I don't think they'd have a leg to stand on though. I relayed what has been going on to my husband, and he thinks I'm being a bit over the top. He claims the student is right, and if he wants to be historically accurate, he should be able to. Personally, I think it's 2020 and historical accuracy is not an excuse to, use the freaking N-word. Like, does that make sense? I don't know, am I an arsehole here? Edit, I have to add that me giving him a 0 on this project will pretty much fail the class for him. Now, there's a ton of comments on this one, so I'm not going to go too much in detail with my thoughts on this, but I will just say my initial thoughts is that, I think when it comes to this kind of thing, I think it's important if you're doing a play or a film about history, I think it's right to portray it as accurately as possible. When I watch like historical documentaries and things like that about anything, I like them to be as accurate as possible. That includes all the grit, all the horrible stuff that happened to remind me of, the world is a shitty place. I like to be reminded of that kind of thing so I can always do better and help out where I can and understand that what people have come from, we can't erase that past, and I think we need to learn from it, and we need to learn, history. Some of our past history was really awful, and what people went through growing up and still go through today. But let's take a look at some of the comments to see what they say. So Purple MP12 says, as one professor to another, get your ass to your department chair and ask him to handle it. A 0 is likely not going to fly. Darcy Knit says, you're the arsehole. Do you not have a rubric? Was there any guidance on a subject matter? He completed the assignment as instructed. You don't like the subject matter, so you fail him. Unless I misunderstood, you never told him in advance or gave him proper guidance. This was a semester-long project and it only comes out at the end. I used to be a teacher. The parents will go to the admin and you will get your butt handed to you. My advice is to set up a meeting with your department head or assistant principal. Take the paper and your guidelines and get their opinion. Be prepared to back down. And Moongirl12 says, you're the arsehole. I get this as a theatre student who took a number of theatre history classes and someone with a history professor for a dad. When we study history, we have to look at both the good and the bad. The reality is, until fairly recently, people thought talking like this was normal. More so, context is important. Part of studying theatre history is looking at a piece, its context, and how it will be handled today. I understand why you are uncomfortable, but you've handled this badly. If this is a student otherwise good, failing them for this is inappropriate. Chairmankin93 says you're the arsehole for a few reasons. 1. What does your rubric say about creating historical interpretations or saying those words in a historical sense? If nothing, that will likely not fly. 2. So you're mad at them or history. If it's history, not much you can say. If they say that in terms of acting, you're taking it out of anger on them, which isn't fair. While the N-word is an awful word, unless you specifically say no historical reenactions, you're stepping out of line and will likely lose out to your department chair. And Real Ghost of Chaos says you're the arsehole and abusing your power as a teacher / authority figure. It's not real, but probably accurate for the time that it's set in. You need to set your SJW high ground BS aside and grade the assignment on based on how it's done, not because of your feelings. Now, I'm going to turn it to you guys. What do you guys think in this situation? Do you think, if you're going to be doing a play, a documentary, a TV show, anything in that sort of nature, and you're doing it on historical periods, should you be 100% accurate if that includes, some racist language in there too? Do you think it should still be used? Let us know in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. And if you did, you know what to do. Hit that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too. And just a huge thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. It really does mean the world to me. And I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.